Hello and welcome to another edition of Focus Poetry. Let me turn down the computer a little bit. There you go. So welcome to Focus Poetry, and this week we're going to look at a poem called The American Wizard by Lawrence Schimmel. And this one I found to be a very interesting poem. It's one that I enjoyed doing some extra research on, and you'll find out why in just a few minutes. So let's go ahead and get started and looking at our title. Our title is American Wizard, so I'm going to write title right here. We have our poet, and then we have several stanzas. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 stanzas. So let's go ahead and number those. Okay, and then let's look at our lines. Well, can we do a shortcut? Let's see. Remember, if we do a shortcut to numbering our lines, each stanza has to have the same number of lines. And without even counting, I can see these are longer than these two, and this one is really long. So I'm guessing that we cannot take a shortcut this week, but we can go ahead and number our stanzas. Here we go. Yay, I came up with 21 lines. All right, let's read American Wizard and see if you can figure out who they're talking about. Ready? A shout rang out in Menlo Park one New Year's Eve as people stepped down from the train into the dark, and he pulled the switch. A flood of light lit up the night. What a marvelous lamps without gas or flame. The people cheered Thomas Edison's name and his marvel that turned dusk into day. Okay, let's have you read it with me. Read it one more time. Ready? American Wizard by Lawrence Schimmel. A shout rang out in Menlo Park one New Year's Eve as people stepped down from train into dark, and he pulled the switch. A flood of light lit up the night. What marvelous lamps without gas or flame. The people cheered Thomas Edison's name and his marvel that turned dusk into day. Now, I want to show you the book that I found. This is the book I found about Thomas Edison, and it really showed a lot of things about him that go with our poem. It shows from when he first started as a young man. He started way back when he was young. He was 14. And he had a job at 14. He was a publisher. He loved to read and he loved to do experiments. And through that, Thomas Edison grew, and this book goes all the way through his lifetime about the different things that he learned or he created. And I found out by reading this book, Thomas Alva Edison made 1,093 U.S. patents. That means that he invented 1,093 things. Most of them had to do with electricity. Let's go back to our poem. Very interesting gentleman, Thomas Edison. If you get a chance to look it up, you might want to do some research on him. So, looking at stanza 1, a shot rang out in Menlo Park one New Year's Eve. So, the time of the year is New Year's Eve. Now, something happened on New Year's Eve, okay? Menlo Park is a place where Thomas Edison did a lot of his research, a lot of his experiments. It's in California, from what I understand, okay? As people stepped down from the train into the dark, so they got off the train and it was dark. There were no lights around anywhere. The light had not really taken effect yet, had not been shown until one glorious day. Let's find out some more. He pulled the switch. So he pulled the switch. A flood of light lit up the night. So lights are on. Wait a second. The light bulb hasn't been invented yet. How did that turn on? Let's see. What marvelous lamps without gas or flame? No gas, no flame. The people cheered Thomas Edison's name and his marvel that turned dusk into day. So he invented the incandescent light bulb. What they used to do was they would have kind of a light that looks something kind of like this. And then, you know, it might go onto a pole or whatever. Well, they had to turn on gas to get a flame to shoot up and become a flame. Now, if that broke, if this glass broke, the fire was not covered up. So fire could start anywhere. And it was very dangerous because you would have gas open and you would have light. You would have the flame open, and it was kind of a scary thing. So he said, you know what? Tired of some fires. So he invented the incandescent light bulb, and that's the light bulb that we have today that looks a little like this. This is a part that screws in. But the incandescent light bulb is the one that has this little thing right here. This is the light bulb that Thomas Edison invented. His marvel turned dusk into day. How did that happen? He turned the dark into light. A flood of light lit up the night. So instead of having this, think about it, one birthday candle probably doesn't have a lot of light, but a light bulb could have a lot of light. So that was one of the inventions he had. And remember, he made over 1,000 inventions. He invented things like the electric generator, mass communications where you could communicate with a bunch of people at one time. He did sound recordings. He invented motion pictures. He was the first guy to use street lights. He did all of these things. I mean, 1,093 inventions. That's pretty cool. He never gave up. He worked from the time he was 14 until the day he died on working on different inventions. So this is a pretty interesting story to me. Instead of just having the poem, I thought it was interesting to find some of the history about Thomas Edison. So if you get a chance, I'm going to return this book to the library today. If you get a chance to find some research out, maybe you can Google or go on one of the websites that are attached with KDISD in the cloud and find some information about Thomas Edison. I think you will find that he was an American wizard who lived on Menlo Park. And so what they called him was the American Wizard of Menlo Park. So do some looking around, do some poking around, see if you can find out anything else about Thomas Edison. And I'll see you tomorrow on looking at our focus poetry. See ya.